I'm David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today on a Tuesday with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going today, Bill?
It's going fine. Thank you very much for asking.
All right. Well, let's see what we got. It's been since what, Friday, I guess, since we've had a show.
Yeah.
So this one's kind of weird. Tesla has a crisis in China. Chinese state media has amplified a story of a Tesla Model Y losing power on a highway with 72 kilometers of range remaining, signaling that Beijing may be withdrawing protection Tesla has enjoyed for years.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have my theories. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Tesla's China domestic sales crashed about 45% year over year in January to just 18,485 units. It's the lowest in 3 years. Now 73% of Shanghai production goes to exports, not domestic sales in China. Tesla has previously sued Chinese customers or journalists into silence with a 90% win rate. State media avoided criticism of Tesla. That protection appears over as Chinese EV makers like BYD and Xiaomi are surging.
And you know the number one BYD is no longer the number one seller there.
It's Xiaomi, right?
No, it's Geely. A Geely model sold 3 times the number of its next competitor, which wasn't BYD or Tesla. 20, nearly 30,000 vehicles in January, compared to, and I'd have to go look at the chart, but compared to the next competitor, again, which wasn't BYD. BYD was like down about third, and Tesla was down around fourth or fifth place.
Yeah, that's a big drop.
Yeah,
it's
huge.
Surprising to see that happening.
So go ahead.
Well, I mean, I just don't know what to make of it. But this whole thing with their, messing with Tesla, and I don't know. It's interesting.
Okay. My theory, since you brought this up as a subject, Tesla has done Musk has done 2 things in the last week and a half that have not been favorable to the various People's Republic and their proxies. Number one, they turned off the SpaceX internet to the Russian forces. Okay, so that the Russians were using. They were even putting the SpaceX satellites on top of their drones to help guide them into targets, because the Ukrainians had come up with a way to electronically block them. So they've done that. They've turned off the Russians, which has really been a setback for Russian military operations in the Ukraine. But secondly, they have also enabled and encouraged, maybe the best way, to put SpaceX satellites, make them available in Iran. And so that's making it more difficult, because the Iranian government just simply turned off the internet. And then they turned off landlines and cell phones and things like that to try to control this uprising that is building momentum in Iran. Who is the chief supplier of one of the chief suppliers of oil?
I lost you there, Bill.
Who is the chief supplier of oil, or among the chief suppliers of oil to China?
Iran,
yeah. So encouraging and enabling the growing momentum of a insurrection within a public uprising within Iran does not necessarily work to the advantage of a government like the People's Republic of China. So I think between Russia and Iran, that's probably not been something that the CCP has, they got to look for a scapegoat, and boy, the convenient one of blaming Tesla. My theory,
That's actually a pretty good theory. It's interesting to see because you think about how much Elon has his hands in so many things between SpaceX, Starlink, and Tesla. It's like the only way people can get back at him, or in Twitter, and people, they don't like what he's doing, they go after Tesla.
Yep.
Right?
That's an easy target. And if they
Yeah.
go after them, then that curries a little bit more favor with the local car producers.
Right.
The government in China is really in a difficult spot at the moment. And
Yeah.
nobody from all the various experts that I follow in that particular space, it's not a good time to be certainly associated with the People's Army. Boy, those guys have just seen all kinds of problems. But that, of course, carries down through the politics elsewhere within the party.
Yeah. Did you? Well, we're going to move on. I have a topic here, and we talked about this a little bit on Friday. Rivian surges 26% on R2 SUV launch plans, but if you look at the scrolling ticker, Rivian's down like 6% today, and not sure what's going on there because it's down around $16, but the R2 starting at about $45,000 is launching in Q2, so that's within the next 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Expected to drive a 53% jump in deliveries. Now,
yeah, I think I saw a headline that they expect that the R2 will be responsible this year for about 62% of the sales across the platform.
Kidding me? Man, how many cartoon henchmen had to steal the moon before it manifested in reality? Man, all of a sudden, Owen's very talkative. I don't know if I don't know if that's a delay in our system or what.
I have no idea.
A whole bunch of messages all at once that came through.
Yeah.
Kia PV5. I don't know about that one yet.
I think that's their van, which is I think it's the van.
I know you like Doug DeMuro, and Doug DeMuro did a review on the R2. He says it's the best EV that he's ever seen.
Well, they've got a lot of practice in, haven't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and he's also big on on Teslas, on how you can't really go wrong buying a used Tesla and all that. We're going to talk about used cars a little bit later, but let's see. Morgan Stanley is confident, reversed their sell-off, increased their stake to 12.2 million shares ahead of the R2 launch. Wall Street is betting on an affordability strategy. Anyways, it's just kind of funny because I look though on the ticker and Rivian's not doing so well today. But there's a lot of things that are red today. I mean, there's very few stocks that seem to be up, and if they are up, they're just up.
Well, I'm wondering if that's in part because of the failed talks between the U.S. government and the government of Iran. I think they were hoping they could somehow negotiate the Iranian regime to be a little bit more lenient than they are. I mean, these guys, they're rolling out military, and they're bringing a machine gun now to a peaceful protest. So,
well, they've killed over 30,000 protesters.
Well, that's the story. Yeah, I don't know if that's been verified, but certainly that's what the story is.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to fathom that, that many people have been slaughtered in the streets by the government.
Well, I was watching just a clip this morning of Tusi TV. That's an Iranian gentleman who's based in London, and he has a channel devoted to the current state of politics in Iran. And he was saying, that's now at the point to where the people realize this is their one and only chance. They either overthrow the government, or they're all going to die. So he sees this as as a last ditch opportunity for the people of Iran to restore the king and some semblance of a democratic administration. So
It's funny to think of a king as a democratic
yeah, I
administration.
know it's a little bit of a but I guess look at UK. They have a king, and it's a parliament, and
Yeah.
you could say
Look, Reza Pahlavi was no saint when he was the Shah. Okay.
Oh, no.
Terrible crap they did, but it's nowhere near as bad as the people that took over. And it's really funny. It's like, be careful for what you wish for. It's like all of these people we call despots in the Middle East that get overthrown. It ends up with something worse.
Somebody worse comes into the end of the picture.
Yeah,
So.
and the only one I've seen in all years that looks like it might be an improvement is maybe Syria. And I'm not, it's too soon to really tell if that's really the case.
Too soon there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it, Jordan's ruled by a king. They seem to be okay. There's a few others ruled by kings like Saudi Arabia and things like that. And those countries seem to have a lot more stability. That's for sure.
Yep.
But anyways, this isn't the Middle East politics show, by the way.
Well, there's more and more EVs being built there, so
there sure are. All right, Elon abandons Mars for the moon. All right.
Didn't I talk about that sometime back? That you really nearly impossible, given our current state of understanding and technology, to actually build a permanent base there.
Well, I've played enough of the video game Doom to know that putting a base on Mars isn't a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, last year, Musk was calling the moon a distraction.
Yeah.
Now, SpaceX will build self-growing lunar city in under 10 years versus 20 plus for Mars.
Yeah, sure will.
Timing aligns with Trump's executive order demanding a moon landing during his presidency. SpaceX holds NASA's $3.4 billion landing system contract.
But they haven't figured out how to do it yet.
Yep. Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin made huge strides with their New Glenn rocket. Sources say SpaceX fears Blue Origin could land humans on the moon first. But sales pitch. All right. So you touched on this a little bit, but Xiaomi beats Tesla in China. The YU7 SUV is the number one seller. Yeah. It sold 37,800 units in January, more than double the Model Y, becoming China's number one EV in its first full month of sales. Of course, this is typical. We've seen lots of these cars take massive order amounts, right? The Xiaomi SU7 sedan outsold the Model 3 in 2025, 258,000 versus 200,000. The YU7 and the Xpeng G7 reportedly have 300,000 plus combined orders targeting the Tesla Model Y.
Yeah. Oh, I will put a caveat in there, because what has happened, and this is proven, is that they aren't actually selling those cars to real customers. They're just actually buying the car from themselves and then chalking that up as a sale. And then that car ends up being put on as a used car that can then be sold as a used car or sold in export markets as a used car. So that's good numbers, and I hope the people are really enjoying those cars. But I've come to have somewhat of a little bit of distrust of numbers I see coming from a lot of these manufacturers.
You know, I don't think Tesla is necessarily who'd get crushed. I think what you'd see, you start bringing a bunch of $10,000 and $15,000 EVs into the U.S. market, people would stop buying gas cars. So Tesla wouldn't be the one I'd worry about. It would be Ford, GM, and Stellantis.
Speaking of which, of course, today is February 17th. This is the day that Ford Motor Company is supposed to do their announcement regarding the $30,000 truck. I actually got a note from Ford's PR agency asking me to correct the article that the RAI wrote about the Model T moment, because we're not actually revealing a vehicle, right? Which had been the rumor kind of all along, that today Ford was going to roll out and finally pull the covers literally off of this $30,000 truck. And for whatever reasons, Ford backed away from that. Now they're just saying, well, we're going to explain how we get to a $30,000 truck. What I've gleaned so far this morning is that they're going to adopt Tesla's Giga press technology. Not that they're going to buy that, because that press came from somebody, not from Tesla. Tesla ordered it and used it, but they're the first ones to use it. Other car makers have followed suit, particularly in China. And now Ford is talking that that's what they're going to do. They're going to use the Giga press to reduce the number of parts that it takes to build a vehicle, and basically form them out of aluminum and use that technology. The other thing too is that they're working on improving the aerodynamics. There's an article on the Ford website that they're tapping into Formula One technology to introduce into their mid-size truck. Imagine that, Formula One in a pickup truck, for crying out loud. But use that to improve the efficiency of the vehicle, because currently the way most pickups are designed, it creates a huge, once that air rolls over the back of that crew cab, it generates all kinds of turbulence, and that turbulence generates air resistance, and that destroys the efficiency of the car. So they're now looking at ways to incorporate the sort of same technology aerodynamically that you'd find in a Formula One racer. They're going to try to find a way to incorporate that into the pickup, which means that the pickup can go further with using less energy. And so Gigapress, and then also apparently they're looking at introducing possibly similar kind of electrical architecture that is in the Cybertruck, and incorporating that then into into the $30,000 truck. So that's what I have gleaned so far today, in the way of what Ford's future is with respect to this $30,000 truck they're talking about.
Okay. Well, we'll see what we get out of that, right? This is back to Xiaomi, though. Xiaomi's targeting 550,000 vehicle sales in 2026. They built 410,000 last year. It's crazy. They're a cell phone manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just nuts to think that they all of a sudden said, "Oh, well, let's make a car," and they're able to do that on that scale. When we watch companies like Rivian and Lucid just struggle over here, right?
Right. Yeah.
And they're able to do that over there.
Well, it's the government had a policy, and this policy goes back to when I first started EV World, that they were going to take and dominate certain sectors of the future economy: solar cell production, wind turbines, energy, infrastructure, high speed trains, things of that nature, and of course, future of automobile manufacturing. And they have stuck to that and the government has provided them the necessary incentives to get to that. And look where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's astounding to see this. All right. Let me see if I got any images. There you go. Share screen. It's actually decent looking. It looks like we're finally getting something from Toyota. All new electric lineup.
Yeah, four of them.
New. They're just going to call it the BZ. No longer the Busy. So it's now just the Busy Woodland SUV, and there's no longer the Busy Forks. So,
yeah, they really seriously need to work on that name.
Yeah, the BZ. Yeah, buzz. I guess it's supposed to be Buzz. 375 horsepower, all-wheel drive, 281-mile range, 8.4-inch ground clearance, 3,500 pounds of towing, all-terrain tire option. They're targeting the adventure and outdoor EV buyers. Starting at $45,000, positioned between the Model Y and the premium EVs. Standard NACS port for Tesla supercharger access, 30-minute DC fast charging, X mode all-wheel drive with grip control for off-road capability. I mean, it's decent looking. Do we get any more pictures than that? Shows one going off-road. Could be AI for all I know. Yeah, I'm not criticizing. It's just, Toyota's really not put their best foot forward. You'd think if Toyota really did electric cars, they would become dominant pretty quick just because of their scale, right?
Yeah.
You'd think, the American manufacturers, we always just assume they're not competitive because they're doing it in the United States, right? But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's not cheap to build cars in Japan either. But anyways, I got an article about small modular reactors for Texas. So the University of Texas Austin estimates Texas grid demand could triple by 2050. Well, that seems pretty obvious considering data centers, Permian Basin electrification, and electric vehicles. X Energy is building 4 80 megawatt reactors at Dow Seadrift, which has got $1.2 billion in Department of Energy funding. Natura Resources molten salt design is going in Abilene. A company called ALO Atomics has a 10 megawatt sodium cooled unit size to fit on trucks. These are all things going on in Texas. Grid modeling shows SMRs are only competitive at less than $3 million per megawatt of capital cost. Current estimates are anywhere between 3 and 10. Won't be cost competitive versus wind, solar, gas before 2040 without major incentives or breakthroughs. One of the things with SMRs that a lot of people misunderstand is the object is to put the power where it's needed so you don't have transmission and infrastructure costs.
Right.
And so that's one of the big advantages for them versus wind and solar is the ability to have it right where the energy is needed without that extra infrastructure.
As long as you can overcome the NIMBYs.
Yes.
Right.
That's a challenge, right?
That's a challenge.
I mean, it's a challenge in any industry. I was looking at somebody was publishing something on LinkedIn, and he was saying that the rate of deaths per terawatt of nuclear energy is 3/100ths of a person per terawatt of energy provided. For oil and gas, it's 18 people per terawatt.
Yeah.
And coal was like 24 people die for every terawatt. And this isn't including, climate factors. This is just in the process of extracting the energy. Okay. And my comment was, well, he left out hydroelectric. And I said, I know you think these are all big numbers for these industries. Don't go looking up hydroelectric because it's the worst. Because there's been like 200,000 deaths from hydroelectric. It's crazy.
How is that? I don't what, because of the
one dam busted and killed 175,000 people.
Okay.
Yeah. So it massively dwarfs all.
Where was that? Was that part of the Ukrainian war? Or
No,
I mean, we haven't had that here. What's that?
I think it was in China. Yeah. But it was really funny because it's like all of these different things. Nuclear is actually lower in the death rate than solar and wind.
Yeah,
which are pretty damn effective.
But then remember, you've got to store that stuff for the next few million years. So what happens over the course of the million years?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you mean as far as nuclear waste?
Yeah.
Well, so there's an interesting thing because, like I've told you before, there's technology out now where you can get rid of most of the nuclear waste. The United States just doesn't do it. We're changing that because there's been some executive actions on it, and there's now all of a sudden some companies. Because I know they're setting up something at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, to do that. So it won't get rid of all of the nuclear waste, but you can cut it down from a 10,000-year half-life to about 150 years. So it takes. There's technology out there to do that. It's just we don't do that. They do in Europe. We've already got that.
Yeah, you take the cost factor and how much government subsidies do you have to have, and it's still the thing is you still can't beat wind and solar for the actual cost per kilowatt.
No, you can't.
You can't.
No, it's funny though. It's like everything in energy is a bit of a tool, right? That they're not. None of them are the end all be all of all energy. Yeah.
So we're reading. By the way, we're reading comments that Owen is replying to.
The idea is to change it from a geological timeline to a human timeline.
Yeah.
And that's the expression I've heard used. It's possible to change nuclear waste from a geological timeline to a human timeline. Yeah. But we're just not doing it yet. But we're going to see that come to market in the next 15, 20 years. The United States will definitely be doing it. It's just a matter of when. I mean, both parties support nuclear energy to some degree. And so I think something that gets rid of nuclear waste, I don't think you'd have anybody. Well, you'll have somebody. Somebody will disagree. There's always going to be somebody, right?
Sure, yeah.
Just like the people, like I always talk about, the people who hate geothermal. It's like, let's just hate everything, right? It's like, when we make more energy.
Well, just okay. You don't want energy, fine. We'll cut off the grid to your house, and you figure it out from there. You don't get any other options. Maybe we'll let you burn wood. No.
So as new EV prices or new EV sales have gone down here in the United States, the used EV market is really cooking. Used EV sales in the fourth quarter, after the rebate went away,
right?
We're up 13.5%, and used inventory is turning in less than 50 days and that's much faster than gas cars in the used space. 40% of used EVs are now under $25,000.
Mm-hmm.
The Nissan Leaf sells for about an average or approximately about $12,000, 70% depreciation. Buyers getting new vehicles with 30,000 fewer miles versus a comparable gas car. A University of Michigan study says you're better off getting a used EV because it has dramatically lower total cost of ownership than
that's
any
where
other.
That's where my two EVs came from.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
In fact, I have never, now that I think about it, none of my hybrids or my full EVs were new. The Honda Insight that I bought, mod or serial number 986, I think it was, off the assembly line. That was bought used. Somebody had bought it. His wife didn't like it, so he put it up for sale on a used car lot locally, and I bought that. The Prius that we bought was a wrecked Prius that had been only 1,200 miles on it when it was in a front end collision. That car was bought by a guy that does restorations. We bought the restoration. That was our used car. Probably saved us, I don't know, $6, $7, $8,000. And then the last two hybrids, or the last two EVs I bought, were used.
yeah.
I've been happy with them.
I looked at some interesting ones. So when you think, and these next couple of cars are ones that you generally wouldn't want to buy used because of the extreme maintenance costs on them. But if they were a gas car, okay. But as
Right.
an EV, it's a whole different picture. So Jaguar makes their I-Pace,
Right.
which is an SUV, which is what Waymo uses.
This is what Waymo uses. Yep.
Waymo are Jaguar SUVs. You can pick those up for as little as around between $20,000 and $25,000 with less than 40,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And the Audi e-trons are in that same price range, and you can find some with crazy low mileage that are used.
Well, that's what Mike drives, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what Mike has. I
Right.
didn't want to talk about this when Mike was on. I didn't want to feel bad about the depreciation of his car, but
Right.
yeah, you can pick those up for like $22,000 to $24,000, and I mean those are really nice cars between the Jaguar and the Audi, and for that kind of price for a car that's only maybe 2-3 years old, it's really staggering to think that. Yeah, I didn't realize that 90% of water we use is for agriculture.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I did not realize we use
Yep.
that much water for ag. Then we waste 30-40% of the agriculture in the country every year. Yeah, I've heard stats that like half of all food created in the United States is wasted. That it just doesn't get eaten, or the produce that you sell in the supermarket has to look pristine.
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah.
so a lot of it just, if it doesn't look perfect, they just throw it away because we have so much. So it's just something different about the United States. Yeah, there's lots of stuff like that. All right, let's talk about BYD. Now, BYD is no longer an Omaha company, but not that it ever really was.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, exactly.
since Berkshire
Warren
Hathaway
Buffett and
divested
Berkshire
their ownership.
Hathaway. So yeah.
Yeah. BYD has a $26,000 SUV that has 440 miles of range. The Song Ultra EV has a 440-mile range. At 26 grand, it's less than half the cost of comparable range EVs in the US. Can you imagine? That's as much as a Lucid. They're launching EVs with 620 plus miles of range, 1,000 kilometers in 26. The Datang or Datang, Data NG, I don't know, DATANG SUV supports 1,000 kilowatt ultra fast charging. So it supports megawatt charging. Chinese automakers are dominating with a combination of low prices, long range, advanced tech, intensifying calls for U.S. manufacturing response. That, we just keep getting.
So I just saw a headline today as part of this, what is Ford announcing with respect to their Model T moment? And I saw a headline today that the Ford management is in conversations with the current White House administration to apparently make it easier or whatever the process is so that Ford can partner with a Chinese manufacturer, and that's probably Geely, to help facilitate the introduction of more affordable electric cars, obviously without having maybe to drop the imports and tariffs and let China flood the market. So there's apparently some movement in that direction. And of course, it wouldn't surprise me. General Motors has long had their Buick division in China, and that they build electric cars under the Buick brand for China. So why not bring them here? So there's some direction. Of course, Chrysler has built Jeeps and other vehicles in China for decades now. So all the gears are in place. It's just a matter of meshing those gears, and we could see them come into this country fairly quickly. There we go.
Yeah. Ford's universal EV platform. You don't want to be sitting in that third row though when it squishes you out like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think the vehicle is going to actually transform like this, but that is.
No, I don't think so either. Those are the platforms that they're using. Notice the battery gets either a little bigger or a little shorter, depending on which model you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, and talking about the pickup truck, I did an interview yesterday with a radio station in Tampa, Florida. And one of the callers was a gentleman who has owned a number of EVs. He has a Ford F-150, which he said he really liked and so on, but then he went and bought the Chevrolet Silverado EV.
Yeah.
And he says it's no comparison. It is the best among the pickup trucks he's tried. It's the best pickup truck, particularly electric pickup truck that he's had. He loves it.
Well, so, they've got the Hummer battery, the 210.
Yeah, he said it's about double. It's about double the size of what's in the F-150.
Yeah, but can you imagine if you were on the road, you had to charge that thing? You're going to be sitting for a while charging that, but hopefully you can make it a long ways. I mean, that was one of the things with the Chevy one, is that you had over 400 miles of range, and because it had that big battery, it didn't drain energy the same way towing. So it's supposed to be by far the best towing one.
Best towing, yeah. Well, he gave it a very favorable. I mean, he liked the Ranger, and he's owned Chevrolet Bolts, or maybe that was another caller we had. But anyway, it was interesting hearing somebody had the experience with both pickups, and his choice was, currently was the Chevrolet Silverado.
All right, let's switch and let's talk about the $15,000 electric mini morph. There's a picture of it, an 8-foot long car.
And this is, you'll have to make sure you scroll through for everybody, because this thing is really, that's my favorite image right there. But this is called a Topolino XS. And it can convert, interestingly, into a convertible. I think if you keep on going down, you'll see more.
And this picture here, just in case you're curious, the right side of the picture is the front of the car.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. The windshield costs extra. Yeah. Oh, wow. The person driving it with a helmet on.
Yep.
That's some, $15,000. It's a pretty cool looking car.
I wouldn't mind driving. Talk about getting people to look at your car,
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, of course, this is all AI at this point, obviously.
Yeah. In the United States it'd be 30 grand, right? Let's see, where are they manufacturing this?
All of this is Italy, so I'm guessing Topolino, I think, is in Italy. So I suspect that this is coming out of an Italian design shop.
Let's see. Winnie Camacho takes the top of Lino as his canvas to graduate into a versatile mini car dubbed the Topolino XS. The morphs shape depending on the rider's intent. It can be roofless. It could be a coupe for a ride in the evening or a roadster for late night skirmishes on the freeway. Who are you going to skirmish with on the freeway? I guess if you have a roof, it's a little easier to shoot at people, right? The car is also your
Oh,
helmet.
well, I hope not. Yeah.
It's easier to do
Car
a
is also
drive-by.
your helmet. Yeah.
It does look like something from the cartoon movie Cars, though.
Yeah. Yeah. But still, I think it's kind of a nifty idea.
Yeah, it is. Let's see. Are there any other articles you want to talk about today, Bill?
Oh, let's see here. We got the couple of things regarding there's work being done on a new aluminum battery that will charge faster and operate at lower temperatures. I think they've tested this thing to about 34 degrees Fahrenheit, 29 degrees Celsius, minus those degrees. And then also it can charge fairly quickly. I think it's like 5 minutes, something like that. So there's work being done on that. It's a kind of I think aluminum anode, and then of course lithium as the ion transport. Also, then there's an article that there's work on the old Edison battery. I think we talked about that briefly. I did a little bit more research, and I wrote up an article for the editors, selected the editor exclusive, EV World exclusives on the website that goes into the chemistry of the Edison, because there's kind of a little bit of a misleading story that came out that would make it sound like this is just like the Edison battery that Thomas Edison worked on. It's Edison and it's iron in name only. So if you're interested in battery chemistries, there's an article that AI helped me generate this morning on what actually is this new Edison iron battery, which I think is interesting. I think we've talked about most of the things I've got notes on. So
good deal. Good deal. Well, everyone, thanks for watching today. I'll be back. I got a special guest tomorrow. David Coolidge is going to come on. We're going to talk about some interesting ideas in revitalizing towns that have lost their manufacturing.
Okay,
and
good.
How he wants to do that with energy. Guy's interesting. He runs a tech incubator out in California, and he's even incubated a nuclear power company. So it's
oh, that'll be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, this guy's a scientist, so I thought I'd have him on with Mike, and we'll see how that call goes tomorrow.
You mean some intelligent conversation coming out of EV World?
There you go. I'll just shut up and let those two talk. All right, folks. Everybody have a great day, and I'll be back with our engineer Mike Herzog tomorrow.